What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer, and just earlier today, Blizzard released the Retributions Overwatch comic to go with the new upcoming event. In this comic, we get quite a few looks into Reaper's past, back when he was still just Gabriel Reyes, and even get a sneak peek at one of the upcoming skins. So in this video, I want to dive into this comic and briefly go over all the major points, and then give my thoughts about what it means for the story as a whole. So without further ado, let's jump right on in. So the comic starts with Gabriel Reyes sitting in a room next to someone hooked up to a life support machine. This apparently is 8 years ago in the Overwatch Swiss headquarters. It then jumps immediately to a Blackwatch facility in Rome, which is the first time we've ever even heard of a Blackwatch facility specifically, and definitely the first time we've heard about any sort of Overwatch base located in Rome. So anyways, we get a discussion between Gabriel, McCree, and Gerard, who, for those of you who don't know, is Widowmaker's husband before she joined Talon, and they're discussing the Oslo attack, which we found out about in yesterday's teaser on the Overwatch blog. The attack was apparently orchestrated by Antonio, a businessman who has a lot of connections with Talon. According to Gerard, given how much influence Talon has in the government, it would be impossible to simply arrest Antonio, as his connections would just set him free. We then see that a suspicious worker is setting up some kind of bomb in the ventilation system, and the aforementioned three continue to talk, with Gerard staying within the facility and Gabriel and McCree moving outside just in time to escape the explosion. We then get an image of what is presumably all the bodies of the people who perished in the explosion, as Morrison and Reyes continue to discuss the Antonio situation. It keeps jumping between the scene of the bodies and the scene of the explosion, where we can see that McCree and Reyes were busy saving people, and it ultimately ends saying that Gerard, who of course was in the explosion, will make a full recovery, and was in fact the person that Reyes was sitting next to. And then we get the final part, the Blackwatch preparation for what is inevitably going to be the PvE mission this year. Reyes gets back together with McCree, and then the two of them meet up with Genji and Moira. And this is where we get the teaser for the new skin. Reyes, McCree, and Genji will all be having their normal Blackwatch skins that we've already seen in game, but Moira is going to be getting a new one, it looks like. And my god, is that a cool looking skin. At this point, it's very reminiscent of the Uprising comic from last year, where we have the team of 4 boarding onto a ship and getting ready to go on their mission. And then we get an amazing image of Jack on one side and Gabriel on the other side, with the Overwatch and Blackwatch logos split down the middle. And then a final comment from Reyes saying that he doesn't play by the rules. So overall, this is a pretty cool comic, and of course is setting us up for the PvE mission, which is presumably going to be Reaper, McCree, Moira, and Genji hunting down Antonio in Venice. Given that Null Sector doesn't appear to have any play in this, I'm really curious what exactly the enemies are going to end up being. Perhaps it'll just be security omnics of some kind, or maybe we'll actually be fighting Talon agents. That's something that we're probably just going to have to wait and see once the event starts next Tuesday. However, there are a lot of other interesting character points in this comic that I want to kind of talk about. Most importantly, the ones that revolve around Reyes. We find out in the dialogue of this comic that Reyes and Gerard apparently have quite a bit of a history together. Gerard apparently saved Reyes in a Cape Town incident, which I'm guessing is just going to be another past Overwatch incident that we add to the list of ones we'll never see fully explained. But Reyes in general in this comic we see as a good and determined person, while Reaper in the modern day Overwatch setting seems like this dark, evil, brooding monster essentially. As I've theorized in some of my other videos, Reyes himself isn't a bad person. He's of course determined to take down this Antonio figure, and after the explosion is clearly devastated by the people who were hurt in it, but we perhaps get the important hint as for how he transitioned from being good guy Reyes to bad guy Reaper, which is that Morrison is talking about how they need to do an official investigation and things have to be done by the book, but at this point Reyes is determined that by the book isn't going to work. Compared to Morrison, who's all about doing the right thing by following law and order, Reyes is clearly the more chaotic side. He's willing to get his hands dirty and perform questionable things for the sake of carrying out justice. I also think we get an incredibly strong indicator of how close Morrison and Reyes are. Despite being so determined to do everything by the book, Morrison is willing to make a slight exception to unofficially sanction Blackwatch to go into Venice. I think it's safe to say that this isn't something that Morrison would ever do lightly, and is most likely only letting it slide this time because of his faith in Reyes. Now, here is getting to the more speculative part. We know that something bad happens in Venice. According to Moira's bio, we know that something happens during this Venice incident that exposes her involvement with Blackwatch, and I think this is going to be what initiates the divide between Morrison and Reyes. Morrison, as I said, is putting a huge amount of faith into Reyes to carry out this operation successfully without it being discovered that they were a part of it. However, we can assume that it doesn't play out so well, and so the only real question at this point is, what goes wrong? Personally, I suspect that this is all a huge setup by Talon. Perhaps the Oslo attack and the bombing of the Blackwatch facility was all done in an effort to draw out Blackwatch and bring them to Venice. Once exposing the unorthodox methods of Blackwatch, then, of course, the world is going to be very, very scared of what Overwatch is capable of, thus ultimately leading to the Petrus Act, which we know shut them down. Now, as exciting as this all is, it still leaves a lot unanswered about Reyes. Even if Blackwatch does end up getting shut down, why exactly would he transition into Talon? Clearly Reyes wants to save the world, and is willing to do fairly questionable things in the process of getting that done. So Talon must have offered him something pretty significant if he was willing to go and join them. Now, in all honesty, I don't think we're going to see this Blackwatch to Talon transition play out in this event. I think that's a story that we're going to get revealed at some later point in time, hopefully at least. But for the time being, I think it's safe to say that the Venice incident is in fact the catalyst that splits Overwatch apart. Although I suppose we'll just have to wait and see once the event actually starts, and we can play the new mission for itself. Don't forget that later today, during the OWL broadcast, there is going to be a special video airing, which is supposed to reveal more about the event. So make sure you tune into that if you're available, but even if you aren't, I'll be covering anything important discussed, so all you have to do is stay tuned to my channel. And in the meantime, I actually made a 2-part video series diving into Reaper's backstory and possible origins, including why he may have actually transitioned from Blackwatch to Talon. So if you're interested, you can check that out through the card on screen, but otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts about this comic. There's obviously a lot of story revealed here, and I think it's going to fill in quite a few puzzle pieces with the story as a whole. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and turn on notifications to both help out my channel and keep up with all my future Overwatch content. This is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.